Today on Cyberbytes the podcast, I welcome Amir Khayat, CEO and co-founder of SaaS data security vendor Vorlon. The sheer scale of breaches that originate from data within SaaS apps and the fourth-party risk is huge. Amir and I talk about how Vorlon are protecting companies from exactly this. I'm Oliver Legg, co-founder of Asperon Search. Enjoy the show. Well, it was a absolute pleasure to welcome the CEO and co-founder of Volon Security, Amir Khayat. How's it going, Amir?
Everything is great. Thanks for having me today, Oliver.
Yeah, pleasure. And we're just talking about how well it's just past end of quarter, and how it was a really good quarter for you, and how there's just been this shift in CISOs actually starting to understand the problem space already without you having to spend months or years trying to convince them that this problem exists. So yeah, really, really looking forward to kind of getting into the story and what Vorlon are actually doing.
Yeah, excited to share more. And yeah, let's not jinx things. But yeah, knock on wood, we finished the quarter strong. And yeah, as you just said, I think that the market definitely responds and see in clear eyes the gap that exists today with the existing controls. And I think that's what
Mhm.
drives our momentum.
Yeah, 100%. Well, for anyone that hasn't actually heard of you or heard of Vorlon, what do you guys do? Like, give a kind of high level of the actual space that you operate in within the security ecosystem.
Absolutely. So, in high level, we're a SaaS and AI ecosystem security. We're helping in three main areas to companies as part of our platform. The first one is know what type of data you share and with who, giving you the visibility to the entire supply chain. So, think about, an average company that is leveraging hundreds of SaaS application and services. Basically, once you connect Volon, the first thing that we do is discover and detecting all the data behavioral connections. We are giving you a full visibility on who is connected, what type of, whether it's an ERP, CRM, HR tools, unique vertical application and services that are being used broadly on specific vertical like healthcare and financials. And then we start our detection engine, and that is driven by a behavioral element that basically help companies to avoid the lost battle around chasing for misconfiguration and who
Mm.
configured that properly or not. Basically, driven everything the same as it happened with the endpoint by behavioral movement with the focus of the data, and then highlighting how you should actually respond and remediate any risk. And then the last piece is an ongoing hygiene. You can call it posture management, which basically continuously measure your risk based on all the connectivity and the data movement, and giving you a full visibility near real time on every SaaS application and AI tools within your supply chain, um, what can be improved or where you're spot on and you just need to continue monitoring that we can provide as an evidence to your compliance checks and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And we'll come back to the specifics of the product and some of the use cases, but I want to get straight onto something a little bit more lighthearted, which is around the Vorlon Voyager, because the newsletter is great and it highlights some really interesting topics. But I just want to know the story behind where the Voyager piece came from.
Yeah, so yeah, as for the name, I will say that we are, a Babylon 5 fans, and we see ourselves as the Vorlon, which is the races that helped in Babylon 5 to everyone to speak in one native language. So we're basically looking at all the SaaS application and AI tools and basically putting everything in a way that a user can understand risk versus actions. From our team perspective, I think we're all veterans in cybersecurity, did a lot in different vertical in cybersecurity. Um, Most of the team comes from Palo Alto
Hmm.
through different acquisition, which we were deploying, the Cortex product line portfolio with Fortune 500, 1000, and different enterprises globally. And that's where we've experiencing and seen the gap. that led us to start Volon, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But yeah.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Because I mean, talking about your background specifically, because I mean, you're a sales engineer. That's your background, being the kind of technical resource in the sales process, and it's maybe I just don't know many of you, but I'm thinking about like a lot of the founders and the CEOs that I know, and there's definitely a lacking significant number that have come specifically from that pre-sales SE background. So yeah, tell us a bit about kind of how that gives you an edge when building Vorlon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start and say that in my opinion, sales engineer is the best role that you can have in the enterprise, like in general, in your work life experience, because it gives you the taste of it, the technicality of the things, the element of that, plus the business aspect. And I did start it as a hands-on keyboard software engineer, develop stuff, and back then it was 20 years ago. Um, I had less and less experience with customers, which honestly made me frustrated. And this is something that we're actually approaching differently in Vorlon. Our engineer also in the go-to-market conversation, learning, hearing, because when you're living in a box, that's basically keep you in a box, I would say. And back then, 20 years ago, I was building features, fixing bug without getting the field experience. And that's where it kind of like I stopped thinking what I would like to do when I will grow up.
Mhm.
But joke aside, I think that that's where it kind of like pushed me to get more into the field. I moved to a deployment roles, and then halfway through my career, I moved to the SE role, which I think exposed me to the business in real time, working with different sellers, hearing customers, firsthand customers, and being able to drive that back to
Mhm.
product and engineering. I think that gives me the visibility and understanding of what it takes in order to take a deal from A to Z, and also observe all the different people that are involved in a deal. So I think it gives you a great view on the way the business run and your product making an
Mhm.
impact or requires improvement when you work with customers.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at I mean, obviously, the best founding teams are the ones that have a spread of technical and commercial, but some of the founding teams that can really struggle when it comes specifically when it comes to expanding on the go-to-market front are the purely technical founders. And they're often brilliant. They just don't have that exposure to commercially taking a product to market and the customer side. So what stage are you at now? Your Series A, you did a significant, what, 17.5 million Series A, which was led by a sell. So like fantastic lead investor. Where is the business actually at today in terms of size and kind of anything that you're happy to share around kind of customer base or ARR?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as you mentioned, we were very fortunate to raise money from Excel here in the Silicon Valley, and we raised our A April last year, where Shield Capital also joined this round, together with some different angel investors that are mostly in the security space. Um, our starting point was after running many validation conversation with our security network, understanding the real challenges that are existing today, and where I would say they're hoping to see innovation from. And that led
Mm,
us to raise our seed round, build an MVP very quickly, and start to work with some design partners, which we converted them to paying customer later on.
mm,
And then once we start to see the momentum, and you touched on that a little bit about, what it takes in order to understand when you're in a pivotal point around, when the momentum starts. But I will say there are like different things that influence that. But back then, when we start to see more and more conviction, feedback about, the things that we added to the product and how it actually reduce effort and creates ROI for companies, that's where we went to our Series A. Um, Since then, we're growing our go-to-market team. So whoever hear us now, we're hiring pretty much in every position. And we're still very much, as a Series A company, very much focusing on the verticals, very much focusing on this repetitive process. We've built a platform from day one. We're not driven by one feature. We're a
Mm,
comprehensive ecosystem for your SaaS and AI tools. And that creates different model in the platform that are relevant for different type of companies. Today, we're working with different size of companies, from Fortune 500, which has thousands of employees and machines that are actually connected to one another, to a mid-size enterprises. And as I mentioned, different vertical, which I was surprised. So trying to very much stay focused and understand where we can influence and help customers the most. It's kind of
mhm.
like our primary goal today, and improving our product, of course, relatively to our age.
So are you saying that a financial services client versus, I don't know, a retail client, are you saying that the product, like the Vorlon product, is actually fundamentally different? Obviously, the same end goal, but the actual way the product works and interacts is different.
Not really. I will say that every vertical has different challenges, right? If we're
Mm,
talking about financials, when you discover application that hold their sensitive data and are their crown jewel application, that will be a different application than
mm,
automotive or retail or healthcare. And I think that's where, we shine. As of today, clearly, we have customers on each one of these verticals, and each one has a little bit slightly different use case, but the overall challenge is the same. I think that for us right now, the ability to focus on verticals will also probably dictate our growth in a way,
mm.
and where we show value to more common users, that will also drive our development efforts.
Yeah, for sure. And was that when it came to the go-to-market strategy, was that like a very clear, this is how we are going to attack the market from the offset, or did that kind of evolve over time as you realize actually we need vertical focused sellers?
I don't think that even if you're a second, third time founder, it's always you come with your thesis and you come with your thoughts, and then the market tells you differently. So
Yep.
it's hard for me to say. I think that what we're definitely leveraging is the team experience and the fact that we've been working with enterprises, so we're able to kind of like zoom in and out in every given
Hmm.
moment and identify opportunities that can help Vorlon and our customers. But I will say that we started doing one thing, and then we learned and we've seen the opportunity that exists, and I think that's what makes a startup relevant in today's environment. It's all about the execution. If you listen to your customers and identify, even if your thesis was a little bit wrong, or that was a little bit slightly in a different direction, but you're able to take this feedback and execute by that and get another feedback loop and see if it actually make the difference to your end users. I think that what drives your growth at the company, and this is something that we're very, very, very much paying attention to an early stage company, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And some of the you've been creating this kind of this breach series, and I mean before this call earlier today, I was kind of looking at some of the most up to date ones that have been added, and it's insane how the sheer number of breaches that are coming through this kind of this fourth party risk, as you're calling it, and the sheer number of breaches that are coming from like very, very major reputable tech companies, and just really eager to talk about like some of the findings from the breach series, and I guess just like the sheer scale of the risk that Vorlon is actually trying to protect against.
Yeah, I think that the industry is in kind of like in transition, from a user focus to data focus, right? With the
Mm.
exponential growth of AI, it's hard to see your weakness point as the user anymore. Clearly, things are driven by users, but the challenge is much more broader. And you can see that, in the different attacks that happened just recently and impacting huge, large number of companies. And I think what's interesting here is that if companies used to focus on their perimeter, right, this is no longer the game. You can see, how Wiz and other CSPM companies and CNAP grow in the last few years. And I think the same thing we're seeing also with the exponential growth of SaaS adoption and AI. And I think that's a point that security team understand that their attack
Mm.
surface completely has changed, and the attacks can come from different spots, and that's where we play a big role in, kind of like helping them to reduce effort and to be in control over their overall threats. I'll say more specifically, I think that it comes down in the end of the day to this shared responsibility that many CISOs are talking about. You're leveraging a tool, you're doing risk assessment, you're learning about, every potential risk that might come from that. But this is not a point in time event. And security teams needs to always assess this risk as an ongoing. And I would say, being proactive about it, the same as they are about the different other threat that are more old fashioned. And these are basically the things that are currently become top of mind for enterprises.
Mm. And one of the main topics on one of the blogs I was looking at earlier was kind of the quote was something along the lines of your supply chain's M&A is a ticking time bomb. So what did you mean by that for people that haven't actually read that particular article? Because it was really, really interesting. It was quite scary, actually.
Yeah, think about it. Definitely, if we're talking about M&As, and when you're adding more companies into your organization, when companies are expand, um, just to map all of the services and application that a new company brings to you, that can be counted in years, I would say. And in the end of the day, are we really expecting our security team or IT team to do mapping all the time and to understand who is adding what and when? I think that's where definitely you have to select different tools that will do it for you. But in general, it doesn't stop there. It's all about this continuously monitoring that, this is basically a table stack for a long time, but you just need to apply that for the new environment and understand, the mesh of connectivity, and where your actual data flows when you're no longer have control on that. And I think that's kind of like how we see things, and connecting the dot for you, but not just highlighting it for you, but continuously learning the behavioral of all these connections, um, all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean the kind of the SaaS data security type space is clearly getting busier. It's clearly competitive at the moment. What specifically is Vorlon doing to actually win in sales processes with these major enterprises?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think as I started and mentioned, we're completely data-driven focus. I think that if you compare us to a different tool that exists in the industry, the majority of them, if not all, are very much focused on the misconfiguration element, which
Hmm.
definitely it's a risk. But as I mentioned, we see that as a lost battle in the end of the day. It's very, very hard to, with the size of security teams today, the shared responsibility, the fact that you need to involve IT or enterprise application teams, it's really hard to oversee all of that. And for that, there are some great tools around it, but our main focus is around the behavioral data movement and giving you the context and the priority, because again, we both know that there are hundreds of applications for enterprises that connected to your data, but not necessarily our top priority because they can be a designer tool, they can be less important, data storage for you. On the other hand, your payment, for example, or, I don't need to go that further, but there are some application that holds all your customers' information or all your employees, which actually put you at risk, both from a governance and compliance, but also from the company day-to-day operation, right? Like if this is basically leave your organization, that's the first phase in the reconnaissance in order to take you to a ransomware, for example. So, yeah.
And what, like when it's actually getting into a sales process itself, I mean, this is kind of coming on to like the challenges and I guess the days that you would rather forget, as opposed to the days that you want to celebrate and continue winning. But like, what are some of the biggest learnings that you've had in the moment during a sales process that hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to?
I think there is always a thin line, and that's in general, my experience as an SE observing different
Mm,
sales engagement. There is always a thin line between overselling and, pitching your product to actually understand what's the organization challenge, right? Who is sitting in front of you? What do they care about? And I think this is what we're keep driving towards to, yeah, we will show you a demo, and sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's when I say harder, sometimes the customer don't want to share too much. They just want to see your
yep.
product so they can analyze. But it's all about the conversation. We need to really understand, what's their current challenges and if a solution like us will be a good fit for them. And I think that's what also keep us focused as a startup, right? Because if you'll just chase about after every opportunity that doesn't make sense as a business or as a value for the customer, then that's probably not the right fit. We are here to solve problems that are within our capabilities to solve and within our platform. There is always room for improvement, that's for sure. But the net is that you need to listen and understand if this is a real opportunity per se from sales, or if this is just okay, we're here to listen and to kind of like learn.
Yeah. Yep. And the same can be said for the recruitment side as well. Sometimes, yeah, a sales process can just be a bottomless pit of time that never quite leads anywhere. So yeah, I get it, and it's transferable. And talking about the team itself, so like geographically, where are you all? You're in the Bay Area. Where is everyone else? How many are there of you today?
Yeah, we're everywhere. No, but to be serious, the majority of our team here is in North America,
Hmm.
spread it from East, Central, West. Um, that's where our go-to-market sits and some of our product. We have research in UK, Tel Aviv, and India, and uh, great presence also in Tel Aviv with an office in downtown. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And what's next? We're sat here, what, at the kind of halfway through Q4 2025. So 10th of November 2025. Like why should people be excited to keep tabs on Vorlon? And what have you got that's going to kind of get people excited going into 2026?
Wow. I would say that the first thing is going back to what I just said around listening. I think that we innovate pretty fast. The first thing that we hear when customers see our platform is mostly, "Oh wow, are you really 2.5 years old startup? Like we did not expect that." And I think that if you want to see some cool stuff and how they actually reduce your overall effort and making your life easier, then I would say just give it a try and see what Vorlon can help you with. So it's a lot around innovation. We added a lot of AI analysis around that clearly in a short manner. The ability to discover, every vendor that adds AI capabilities. Today, you can just click in Vorlon and see, oh, wow, HubSpot just added an AI or MCP model. Oh, we're actually using that, so a lot around AI. AI is definitely a huge focus of ours. But I will say it's a subset of SaaS applications. So I think that, you ask what's next, we're a startup. Keep hustle, keep pushing. We want to get the brand out there. The team is super bullish and we're executing, as I mentioned, in a highly pace. And, we have a large target. We want to be the next unicorn. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got every confidence that you can get there, man. And yeah, look, really stoked for what you've achieved in like a really, really small space of time already. And yeah, I can't wait to kind of keep tabs on you and the team and see what you're all able to achieve.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, we'll be in touch and I would love to share more success story.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have a follow-up episode maybe in 2 years' time, and we'll be able to see kind of hopefully just how many of your expectations you managed to far surpass rather than just meet. But Amir, been an absolute pleasure having you on, and yeah, wishing you and all the team the best of luck going into the next year.
Thank you, sir. And it was a pleasure talking with you. And yeah, looking forward for the in 2 years one. It will be fun.
100%. Well, thanks, man. Take care.